Welcome everyone, my name is Rigel, and today we are going to talk about my final afterthoughts on Junior Eurovision 2022. Now, yeah, this was a long time coming, but like I said in my previous video, I had exams, and then after that, I had to actually write the blog post for these afterthoughts. Link in the description, as usual. I'm not gonna mention the whole thing here because that would just be way too long, but I'm gonna kind of rattle on about what I remember from it. And also, again, just give my basic thoughts about what happened in the show. So, yeah, we've got the page here. It, of course, doesn't show what I think about it, but let's go for every single song by running order. Now, first, La Festa. I think it was a job well done. A very good opener, actually. Um, Although I think in terms of camera angles, it's a little less vibrant than what I would have hoped for. For example, compared to the Junior Song Festival performance, that was great, but I think it lost a little bit of that punch in Yerevan because they fixated on the huge La Festa text too much. Um, on the LEDs. So yeah, overall, but still a very, very good performance. And I'll be honest, I'm surprised kind of uh, that it didn't end like top two in the televote because, even though it did open the show, there was still a lot of pre-voting going on. And, you can see from the Junior Song Festival channel that the Dutch really do love their own entry this year. I think the video has like 1 million views or something like that. So yeah. But beyond that, still a very well done job by Luna and by the Dutch team. And compared to their result last year, this is certainly not a disgrace. Now, the second country was Poland. Now, someone uh, initially suggested that the Polish would still come out in droves to vote for their own song, but well, clearly that didn't happen. Um, I think as an entry, it's all right. But immediately upon seeing it, I knew it wasn't gonna fight for the win. Laura kind of lacks stage presence. I think she sings all right, but she doesn't move around a whole lot. She doesn't alternate in her tone a whole lot. So yeah, I think it was all right. The 3D effects were a little cheesy. I think this year, Poland are just kind of experimenting with on-screen effects and seeing if they can actually enhance the performance. And with River, the answer is very conclusively no. Um, to the Moon, I think they were all right, although I wouldn't argue that they actually added anything to the performance. So yeah, overall, an all right performance. I think the placement that it got is pretty appropriate. Yeah, not much else to say about this. And the third one in the running order is Kazakhstan. How the hell did this come bottom two? Genuine question. Like, okay, it wasn't one of the best, absolutely not, but bottom two? 5 points in the jury? Are you kidding me or what? um, yeah, just a lot of things went wrong. Um, yeah, first off, the kid can't sing. I'm sorry, but it's true. Listen to it. Especially if you're someone like me who has perfect pitch. Uh, that was kind of excruciating to listen to. uh, no offense. Um, yeah. the kid can't sing, unfortunately. In a pretty vocally demanding song. Um, Also, he couldn't even pronounce the English words right. He pronounced try as trite. Uh, so yeah, there's that as well. The LEDs were all right, but I think they put too much of a budget into that, and then just almost neglected everything else. And also, why was David Charlin wearing um a white outfit and donning freaking gray hair? What does that have to do with the song? And the little seedling thing at the end, that's kind of cool, but at the same time, a little cliche if I do say so myself. But yeah, disappointing result for Kazakhstan, I'm sure. And I guess that means we're not seeing them in Liverpool. All right, take that as you will. I don't really care either way. Malta, a good performance, well sung. It's just that the song itself wasn't that strong to begin with, so it just kind of got buried. It's an unfortunate placement for them, but someone has to come last place, so yeah. Um, Italy. Um, yeah, no, it was all right. R.I.P. Whistle note. Uh, at least we got, at least we got the bullism meme out of it. Um, yeah, that was great. The bullism, as if that's an actual word in English. Um, yeah, she sang all right. Otherwise, I think the camera angles could have been a little better for an upbeat song. Um, the choreo was age appropriate, let's say. Yeah, not much to say about this one. It's all right. I think the position it got was also pretty appropriate. Let's skip over France for now. Let's talk about them after the other countries because it is the winner. Albania, song giving nothing, voice giving everything. Yeah, Caitlin Jatta has a great voice. Unfortunately, the song doesn't really go anywhere. Um, yeah, that's really about it. The staging, there really wasn't any. Um, yeah, moving on. Georgia. Um, like I said in the blog post, it was good staging, although not, on the money. The choreo honestly was fine. I think the camera angles were okay, but I think there could have been a few more quick cut shots to kind of emphasize the intensity of the song. Um, the outfits apparently are inspired by traditional Georgian dress. However, it's safe to say that most people in Europe don't know what traditional Georgian dress looks like. So it could be, a little off putting. And, in general, just it's pretty much traditional at this point for Georgia to suffer in the public vote. So yeah, I think all things considered, it's still a good placement for Georgia. Although I'm sure they were hoping to get more um online vote marks than they did. But yeah, all things considered, still a very good result for Georgia, and they continue to be unbeaten for their three times winning result. Ireland, oh man, my favorite of the night. Um, I'm not gonna go into it too much here, but basically, she sang very well. The song was composed very well. The camera angles could have used a little work, but generally they were pretty appropriate. The LEDs were okay. The lighthouse is pretty tacky, if you ask me, but at least it's memorable. Um, and thank God they removed those wings because what the hell was that? In case you didn't know, uh, during the rehearsals, the press reported a pair of wings that they had brought to Yerevan. In case you might have heard about that story where they were missing some props, and those props turned out to be a cape and a pair of wings under it, and they didn't have it during the first rehearsal, but they did in the second, and they tried it I think once or twice, and then they decided screw it, let's just not do it anyways because it wasn't looking good basically. Um, so yeah, they initially had planned to put a pair of wings um on the outfit, which just like some of the press told me that it's like some of the press told me um just didn't make any sense, didn't really contribute to the performance, the staging, and all that. So yeah, I'm glad they removed that because it wasn't really necessary. The rest was really good. Um, yeah, my far and out my favorite of the night. Even taking some of my other favorites into consideration. Yeah, this was beautiful. Honestly, yeah. I think this position is very well deserved, and yeah. Nothing much else to say. It's just beautiful. North Macedonia. For what it's worth, I think they did what they could. Um, it's a fun song. Lara sang pretty well. Yeah. Um, Lara sang pretty well. Um, the staging, the LEDs were interesting. Although I actually kind of missed the, hashtag love my girlfriend scene. Can someone point it out to me because I missed it, and honestly, I can't be bothered to rewatch it myself. So yeah, if you did notice it, let me know in the comments. Um, but other than that, yeah, it's all right. The rap honestly wasn't as jarring as I expected it to be. Um, but yeah, otherwise, again, they did what they could, but again, it's going between two heavy hitters, so as to say. So I'm not really surprised. It kind of got forgotten in the process. So yeah, unfortunate, but again, someone has to come low down in the scoreboard. Spain. Um, Again, it's a good proposal. And it's pretty clear that RTVE wants to win Eurovision, either junior or adult, or adult, however you pronounce it. But yeah, Senorita was not gonna win Eurovision. Let's be honest. But I think they did the best they could, and I think the funniest part about all this is the Spaniards hypnotizing themselves into believing that they could actually win with the song when it frankly just wasn't a favorite with most people. Um, so yeah, it's all right. The neon does stand out, although I think there are probably better ways to stage this. Um, you can also hear him getting a little bit breathless. The choreo is nice. I will give him that. But the camera angles needed a little bit of work. I think they're not as dynamic as I had perhaps hoped for them to do. So yeah, it's all right. Not amazing, but I think they did a good job of packaging it. And certainly, compared to their result last year, this certainly, isn't a disgrace. Um, the UK, again, it's a great pity that Freya Sky grew sick. Um, but yeah, for all things considered, I think she still did a good job. The LEDs were great. The camera angles were really good. The lighting was excellent. Honestly, Dan Shipton is a magician. Um, yeah, the staging is really, really good. And I think that had Freya been able to properly sing, I think she probably would have been in the running for the win still. But unfortunately, these things happen, and I think the EBU are looking into moving the show earlier, but that's not really confirmed. Um, but I'll talk about future Junior Eurovision related stuff later in this video. Portugal. Yeah, I'm proud of this kid. Everyone was like, "Oh, they're gonna end like bottom 2 or 3 or something like that." Top 10, top 10, and tying in the televote with the freaking Netherlands and Armenia. Like, hello? Portugal's kind of becoming, an unexpected televote powerhouse, and I'm all here for it. Yeah. Understand I like. Although the song is a little bit of an um acquired taste, let's say. Um, yeah, I like it, but I can see why people won't like it. Yeah, the performance was good as well, especially the LEDs. I think RTP is really starting to, get Junior Eurovision. Um, and that's wonderful. Yeah. Long, long may Portugal continue to send authentic and perhaps um not as kid oriented content to Junior Eurovision. Yeah, I think is great. And I voted for him, by the way, because my third place was and is Armenia, but I knew kind of that Armenia didn't really need my votes because they have the entire freaking diaspora behind them. But Portugal definitely needed my vote, and look where we got. Serbia. Again, a pity that Katarina Savage um couldn't perform live. However, I think the performance in the I think jury final that was good. Yeah. Multi-talented queen, if you will. I like it, but I'm not surprised to see uh uh it not get um too much love from either juries or the public. It's pretty um avant-garde, if you want to call it that. Um, yeah, it's fine. But again, it's another one of the cases where it's just sandwiched between two hard hitters. Um, and it just kind of get forgotten basically. So, what can you do? Um, Armenia. Yeah. Some people were speculating that maybe they had gotten a whole different staging director for this, and I might tend to agree. The camera angles far and out best of the night, no doubt. I think the choreo was a little too childish for a song like this, and for the choreo that we saw in the music video. Um, yeah. From that, I expected a little bit more mature of a choreography, but I guess we weren't gonna get that. But all things considered, it was still a really, really good proposal, especially that high note from Nare. Oh my god. Um, yeah, that was crazy. Nari's got a bright future ahead of her. And yeah, another second place for Armenia now, which makes it their fifth second place. We'll get back to that. And finally, to close the show, Ukraine. Um, yeah, I'm not surprised that they got this result. Some people were thinking that maybe they would still get a kind of Kalush level televote, but obviously that didn't happen. and they got a televote that's pretty typical of Ukraine at Junior Eurovision. So yeah, uh, she's saying, well, the LEDs I think could have used a little bit of improvement, but for what it's worth, I think it was fine. Yeah, I don't really have much to say about this. And finally, France, the eventual winner of Junior Eurovision 2022. Now, I'll try to be nice, but truth be told, this was my least favorite of the night. um, like, don't get me wrong, he has great charisma, an absolute showman, bucket loads of uh talent in that field. Um, but I think I'm not entirely sure, but I think I have perfect pitch, and when I'm someone like that, it becomes kind of unbearable to watch this performance. Um, at least he nailed the last high note. That was good, but the performance in the pre-voting snippet, that was ugh. I couldn't bear to watch that. Because he was just so off key. Uh, yeah, I mean, I would have accepted several winners. Georgia would have made a good winner, even though it wasn't that high on my top list. Um, and initially, just on the songs alone, I actually like Omamong. I think I placed it like fifth or something. Um, but the performance just again unwatchable. I think. um, yeah, it's you notice that if you watched my live voting reaction, or just you can watch it back, you'll see that I actually turned off the sound before the winner winner's reprise, because I just could not listen to it. I'm sorry. Yeah, so uh I just don't like this a whole lot. At least the performance. The song is nice, but yeah, I'm actually um pretty different from other Euro fans in this respect. Other people didn't like the song, but they were convinced by the performance. But meanwhile, I actually like the song, but then the performance just turned me off completely. So yeah. Um, no offense to Lissandro. Again, he's an excellent performer. Um, but yeah, the vocal just really wasn't there. I'm sad to say. Had he been singing well, apart from the last few notes, um, then I would have been more satisfied about that victory. But no, I wouldn't say I don't accept it. Obviously, I kind of have to, but um, yeah, it just doesn't make sense to me, and it's sad to say that I can't find it in myself to like this Junior Eurovision winner. So yeah, that's all the songs, and now let's look at the results. A few of the things I already talked about, so I'm not gonna mention them again. Portugal tying with Armenia and the Netherlands in the televote. But the main thing I want to talk about, I think, is the evenness of the online vote. Yeah, it's called online vote, not televote, because televote is for when you vote using text or calls. Does anyone do that? Genuinely, let me know. I think it's always texting now. But let me know. Yeah. Anyway, it's called an online vote, but the point is, it's really even. Um, like I said in a tweet earlier today, or was it yesterday? I don't know. That's 47 points between the winner of the online vote, and last place in the online vote. 47 points. In the jury, the winner and the last place have a difference of 127 points. Seriously, that's a huge difference. That's almost 3 times the difference of the online vote. See, this wouldn't be a problem if, the televote was also as extreme, or the jury vote was less extreme. But because they wanted to have the jury vote however they wanted to, but also make okay television so that the kids don't get disappointed with like 0 points or something. You end up with a really even online vote, and that increases the influence of the jury because, as you can see here, the entire top 7 are placed exactly the same as the jury placed them. Even though the UK won the online vote, they still couldn't overtake Ireland just because the jury had rated them a bit higher. You know, it's all a bit unfair, I think. The jury effectively gets to dictate who wins, basically. Like, okay, in 2020, fair enough, because the televote also liked France. But in 2021, everyone was saying Kami Kami was a runaway winner, well, before the show, and Kami Kami only won over somebody by, what, 3 points, 4 points, something like that, or even less. So it really, really wasn't a runaway winner, and the only reason Kami Kami had been able to achieve that win was because it was also rated highly in the jury. Had the jury not rated it as highly, we would have been going back to Poland this year. You know, I think this is an issue that really needs to be addressed by the EBU because, as it stands, the online vote makes very little, if any, difference in terms of the results because of these equalizing measures. Let's call them. And I'm pretty sure each country also starts on some sort of baseline. Some people say it's the issue of the prevention of the power voting, a country voting for itself. But, clearly that didn't really stop the UK and Spain from voting for themselves. But, yeah, even then, it's still way too even for the online vote. And as a result, that greatly increases the influence of the jury on the final results. And I think that's just kind of unfair. Maybe you could have the top 10 in the online vote be announced so we don't have kids crying on live television. And then just quietly put out the rest of the results later. But so you can retain your okay television. But yeah, I think this online vote really needs to be changed to see the jury have less influence on the final results because remember, it's supposed to be 50-50, and in terms of marks it is, but because of the equalizing measures and perhaps because of the power voting um, prevention measures, we still get a really even spread when clearly we know that there is some sort of baseline on which every country starts on, um, and that just reduces the number of available points to give out to every country after that. So yeah, I don't know how they fix this basically, but again, maybe they could just not do the baseline thingy and then only announce the top 10 in the televote, so again, we don't get kids crying on camera. But yeah, um, as it stands, the jury has far too much of an influence on the results, and I think that's a problem. Now, after that, let's move on to trivia. Now, I honestly don't have that much that I can remember off the top of my head, but in terms of point swapping, there actually weren't that many going on. In terms of jury, we have here Italy and Kazakhstan swapping four, Ireland and Georgia swapping two, I think, and I think that's Serbia and Spain swapping 1 point. Last year there were several 12-point swappings taking place, but this year there aren't a lot of point swapping going on. What is interesting is that despite getting four sets of 12 points despite getting four sets of 12 points, Armenia scored lower than Georgia in the jury vote. Also, Ukraine repeats its move of giving 12 points to the UK from adult Eurovision 2022. Um, Now let's get back to here for a little bit more trivia. First off, this was the first time that North Macedonia had sent more than two vocalists. You know, Daite Musica had four members, from last year, but two of them, specifically the girls, were not holding microphones, so they can't really count as vocalists. And then the obvious stuff, Kazakhstan getting their worst ever placement, Ireland and Portugal getting their best ever placement, specifically Ireland getting their best placement in any Eurovision event since I think 1997, when they got second place on home soil, incidentally. And of course, this year we also saw the return of the UK to Junior Eurovision. This is the UK, as it stands, is the country with the longest gap between current participation and previous participation, and can only be beat, I think, if either Denmark or Norway return, which, by the way, spoiler alert, they won't. Um, Again, like I said earlier, Armenia gets their fifth second place, which continues their trend of being the country with the most second places. Armenia is almost like the UK of Junior Eurovision in that sense. The next largest number of second places is two. Several countries have that. I think Georgia, Russia, Ukraine, and some other countries that I can't remember right now. Um, this is the first time that Georgia has gotten third place. They've gotten first, they've gotten second, they've gotten fourth, all a number of times. But this is actually the first time ever that Georgia has gotten third place. The Netherlands got seventh place, which is the third time they have gotten this position now. And speaking of first time positions, this is the first ever time North Macedonia has gotten 14th place. Incidentally, while researching this, I found that North Macedonia has gotten 12th place 8 times. 8 times since 2003. That's crazy. And also Albania, despite getting 12th place, this is actually their second best placement. Their best one was 5th place in 2015. And what else? Serbia got 13th place, which was the exact same placement that they got last year. And of course, there's a few things to talk about for France as well. For example, the first male winner since 2014. Um, the second in a row, first half running order winner since 2006, 2010. I can't remember. But it's a while. 20 wait 2006, 2007, somewhere around there. Yeah. You know, the previous the previous first half running order winner was Milena, and then before that it was 2007, which I can't remember the winner, or 2006, can't remember again. Um, Malta, by getting last place this year, has now got a whole three last places, which ties them with North Macedonia, who also have three last places in Junior Eurovision. Even though Portugal got their best ever result this year, it was not their best televote result. That goes to Uhapaj, which was their entry last year, which got, I think, 101 televote points, while this year, obviously, they got 70. Kazakhstan last year, if you remember my video from last year, they were in a club, basically, of always placing top 10 alongside, I think it was Armenia, France, weirdly enough, Denmark, and Australia. Um, Before 2021, Spain was also in that club. But now this year, Kazakhstan is obviously no longer in that club by getting 15th place. And finally, by winning Junior Eurovision a second time, France has now become the first ever country to win both adult Eurovision and Junior Eurovision more than once. You have several other countries who have won junior more than once. Poland, Georgia, Russia, um, and a few others. But well, obviously Armenia, and but obviously most of those countries haven't even won adult Eurovision even once. Never mind multiple times. But Russia obviously won adult Eurovision once, but even then, that's just once. And now France has become the first ever country to win both adult Eurovision and junior Eurovision more than once. So, congrats to them on that. And speaking of France and junior Eurovision, let's see what will happen next year. So, what do we know about Junior Eurovision 2023 so far? Well, it's expected to be in France, although this has not been confirmed yet. In fact, an hour after Lissandro had won, um, the French head of delegation already expressed that they want to host Junior Eurovision 2023 in France. Um, where exactly is not known, although a place with a good chance is Nice, because according to rumors, these had already been considered in 2021. Although due to COVID concerns, they didn't want kids going any further than Paris, so they had to, host it in Paris. But there's a very good chance that Junior Eurovision 2023 will be in Nice at the Palace Nikaya. I think that's what it's called. Um, there's also some other possible locations like in Toulouse, in Nantes, uh, and a few others that I can't remember right now. So yeah, it's likely to be in France. A good chance that it's gonna be in Nice. So we wait and see. Um, we already have several countries that will participate. For example, Armenia. The Armenian head of delegation said can't wait to come back to France in the winners press conference. France, duh. Georgia, they already opened submissions for Ranina, which is their kind of junior Eurovision national final, and apparently they've already gotten 585 submissions, which is crazy. Um, Germany, because apparently during the live broadcast for Germany, yeah, they didn't participate this year, but they did broadcast it. The commentator said that they will return to Junior Eurovision in 2023, which incidentally makes it once Italy confirms, will make it the um, first ever edition of Junior Eurovision where the entire Big Five is present. That's awesome. The Netherlands opened their submissions pretty much right after Lissandro won Junior Eurovision 2022. They opened submissions for Junior Song Festival 2023. Um, North Macedonia, interestingly, they put Junior Eurovision 2023 on their budget for 2023, but not Eurovision 2023, the actual adult contest. Um, so that's interesting. They're not going to be in Liverpool, but they will be in France. So we wait and see what they do. Spain and the UK are pretty similar cases in that they both said they will continue to participate regularly in Junior Eurovision in the coming years. So yeah, like I said earlier, once we get the confirmation of Italy doing Junior Eurovision 2023, I think this will be the first ever edition where the entire Big Five will be um, in the same Junior Eurovision Song Contest, which is wonderful. And there's other members here, but I'll go through these very briefly. But there's a few more that I want to talk about. First off, Bulgaria. I think they're not gonna do it for a couple more years because one, funding issues, and two, allegedly they're not interested in it. So yeah, a shame. But Denmark also confirmed very quickly, like a day after Lissandro won, that they were not gonna return to Junior Eurovision. And speaking of Denmark and Nordic countries, I'm pretty sure Norway's not gonna come back either because uh the head of delegation of Norway said in an interview this month actually that they have no plans to return to Junior Eurovision in the near future. So yeah. But speaking of Junior Eurovision in Nordic countries, I think one country that genuinely has a prospect of returning is Sweden. You know, uh, Denmark and Norway are always talking about how uh, Junior Eurovision these days don't treat the kids right, because in both Denmark and Norway you have a Melody Grand Prix Junior, where basically kids have to write their own songs and then sing them. But obviously, the model in modern Junior Eurovision is to have grown-ups write the song and then hand them to some kid. You know, the only exceptions these past few years that I can think of are Ukraine 2021 and Albania 2022, actually, which is very interesting. Um, so yeah, kids don't tend to write their own songs anymore in Junior Eurovision, which goes against the model of Denmark and Norway, because of their um, Melody Grand Prix Junior. But I mean, if there's one thing that we know about Sweden is that they love sending songs um, written by random songwriters to even more random singers, and honestly, I'm surprised they haven't returned earlier because, um, the Norwegians and Danes have always kind of condemned this uh way of treating their kids, but Sweden hasn't actually done that. SVT hasn't done that. Um, And when they said they weren't gonna participate in 2022, they said specifically it was 2022. They didn't say near future. They didn't say forever. They just said 2022. And if you look at their participation records as well, um, you'll find that Sweden is the most proactive of the three, because uh, Denmark and Norway basically just left after 2005, but Sweden went all the way to 2014. And if you're wondering whether Sweden has its own version of MGP Junior, well, the answer is yes, or it was yes. It's called Lila Melody Festivalen. I guess you can call it Lila Melfest. And it went until 2020. It went until 2012, I think. When 2014, after which they withdrew from Junior Eurovision. But yeah, most of the time it served mostly as a selection for Junior Eurovision rather than um, kind of an independent thing where the kids write their own songs. So yeah, um, add to this the fact that uh, Martin Osterdahl actually said in a press conference in Yerevan that he is communicating with some northern European countries to see if they could participate. It's pretty vague wording, but I would take that to mean Sweden, Iceland, and possibly Estonia. Now, with Iceland, is actually pretty obvious because in 2021 they sent a delegation to Paris to observe the going ons of, or is it goings on, whatever, to observe the behind the scenes of Paris 2021, and then also broadcasted Junior Eurovision 2021 on the delay. Although weirdly they did not send a delegation to Yerevan nor broadcast Junior Eurovision 2022, but so yeah, it's pretty clear that Iceland has an interest in Junior Eurovision. Although they did say in an interview that they would need more time to formulate their plan, and they might even do a little national selection, kind of like a junior Songvakeppnin kind of thing. Um, so yeah, that's pretty clear actually. If you've been following Junior Eurovision these past few years, um, it's pretty likely that we'll see Iceland in Junior Eurovision in the next couple of years. And with Estonia, it's interesting because both Latvia and Lithuania have done Junior Eurovision before, but not Estonia. It's weird because obviously the other two Baltic countries have done it. Why isn't Estonia doing it? Um, well, their answer officially is financial constraints. However, they don't discard the option of debuting sometime in the future, and that could be 2023, that could be later down the line, who knows. But either way, just know that uh, you know they haven't entirely discarded the option of doing so. So yeah, honestly, these are the main three I want to talk about. But also, obviously Germany's coming back, but I think given how the Azerbaijani delegation have talked about it, I think they will come back to Junior Eurovision in France. Um, obviously because it's not their mortal enemy, Armenia, so it's fine for them to go to this Junior Eurovision. So yeah, with all being well, I think we will see at least 19 or 20 or even 20 countries in Junior Eurovision 2023. I did read rumors somewhere that Greece was gonna return, but I also then saw someone DM ERT on Instagram, and they said they have no plans of doing it. So there, yeah, Greece is probably not coming back. I doubt Cyprus is as well. They haven't talked about it in a couple years. So yeah, never mind San Marino and countries like that. So yeah, that's pretty much it. That's what I think. And if we go back to Junior Eurovision 2022, my final thoughts. Ivana Makuchian was a great host. Garrick was alright. Karina Inatian needs a little bit of work. Robin the Robot was honestly more confusing than anything else. Um, but the show itself was great. I really liked the opening ceremony. Um, the show was great. The main show was great. The past winners medley thing that was really cool. Um, Especially Zikebi and when they pulled out the red fans for Andes Muerta Kesencia. Um, yeah, that was cool as well. So yeah, I actually really enjoyed the show. Especially the opening ceremony. And also the flag parade and the comment song. That was really cool as well. So yeah, with that said, I hope you enjoyed this video. Link in the description as always to my blog post for this, where I talk about more of the trivia in greater depth. Like this video if you enjoyed my commentary. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss my upcoming videos. For example, what we know so far about Eurovision 2023 as of January of 2023. And speaking of 2023, Happy New Year, and I'll see you there.